think your biggest expense in retirement will be? Healthcare? Housing costs? Inflation? This may come as a surprise, but it's actually taxes. Most every one of you listening has an IRA, a 401k, or some type of tax-qualified account, which means all of that money isn't yours. You have a partner in those accounts. It's Uncle Sam.
So the real question is, how do you keep more of your hard-earned savings in your pocket? We at Alon Planning Partners have a solution. We created a tax calculator just for you. Go to exchangemytaxbill.com. Again, visit exchangemytaxbill.com, input some basic information, and you'll see your tax liability through retirement. We can help you craft a plan that will give you peace of mind to and through your retirement years.
So visit exchangemytaxbill.com to take the next step. Again, exchangemytaxbill.com will help you craft a tax plan to help bring clarity to your financial future.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
When it comes to protecting what matters most, it makes sense to choose an insurance agent that's a part of your community. Your local Allstate agent knows the ins and outs of both owning and protecting a home in your neighborhood. By choosing a local Allstate agent, you get an expert who knows the community and is committed to getting to know you, which means George Gray can help you get the protection you want that fits you and your life. Are you in good hands? Contact George Gray, Allstate Insurance, today for a free quote.
Hey, Andy Morris here. Join me along with my co-host on The Drive, presented by Hardees, weekdays at 5 p.m. on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Cleveland and Bradley County's local sports show, weekdays at 5 on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 101.3, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The top of the hour is presented by Best Buy Metals, making the top of your house the best it can be. Visit bestbuymetalroofing.com.
It's time for The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Hardees. We will bring you nonstop sports news from the national and local scene and everything in between. So buckle up and join in on the conversation. It's The Drive.
Don't take no style. Got a thirst for killing. Think your body.
Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. I'm Andy Morris here with my good friend Jim Gum, excited to talk. Obviously, last night, the very controversial college football playoff rankings were released.
Yep, the third version, and we've got 3 in the books, and we've got 3 more to go.
I almost opened the show by looking at you and saying, "Hey, Paul."
We were listening to the Paul Feinbaum show right before we came on air, and boy, some of their listeners are fired up.
And I want to say this. I really enjoy listening to Paul Feinbaum. Obviously, 2 to 5 o'clock right here on ESPN Cleveland. And I appreciate his takes, his guests. But when we go open phone lines and we let everybody have a say-so and we let everybody talk, kind of scratching my head wondering where they find some of these people.
By the way, did you happen to see Paul Feinbaum with Mike Greenberg this morning?
I didn't.
Ooh, Andy, Mr. Notre Dame fan, he went off on Notre Dame today, calling it bias against the SEC, and there's bias towards Notre Dame. He went off big time. And it was kind of, you could see Mike Greenberg was kind of like, what in the world?
Well, that's funny because 2 weeks ago, Paul Feinbaum was talking about how good Notre Dame was. So that's a little, contradicts itself a little bit there.
Yeah, he does that quite often, though. But, I mean, listen, he caters to his audience, and his audience are usually SEC fans and mostly Alabama fans.
And as is our audience. We know we got a lot of Tennessee fans out there, a lot of Georgia fans.
And by the way, Tennessee, Florida, we got to give that game a little bit more love than we have.
We're about to. But also, we've got a sprinkling of Alabama fans in the area. Now, that has kind of went down a little bit, considering that, Papa Saban's gone, and they've not been winning the national titles like they had. It's funny how when teams are peaking, you see a lot more fans. You see a lot more fans around.
I have to admit, I do know a guy who switches his favorite teams. I'm like, how is that possible? How do you switch favorite team? We're talking mostly professional, but he's actually switched college teams too. I'm like, wait a minute. I picked my teams when I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Same here.
And I do not waver. Those are my favorite
Unconditional.
teams. Unconditional. Win, lose, you name it. I'm with them all the way. But people like that. And my biggest pet peeve are people that have different college basketball teams than football teams. I know a guy, his favorite football teams, Alabama Crimson Tide. His favorite basketball teams, Kentucky Wildcats. I'm like,
in the same conference.
Yeah. I said, well, aren't you kind of a front runner, So
we've actually talked about that a little bit before on this show. And when it comes to the whole spectrum of collegiate athletics, I'm a big-time Notre Dame fan. Don't watch a ton of college basketball, but when I do, I'm pulling for Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Don't watch a ton of hockey, but when I do, I'm pulling for Notre Dame. But I'll say this. I'm a big Iowa wrestling fan.
No, that's because Notre Dame doesn't have a wrestling program.
Exactly. And if they did, you know who I'd pull for?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That's the unique thing, though, about sports and fandom, being a fan, is even though me and you can criticize and say this joker's is crazy for being that way, you have the right to be that way.
Yeah, but there's a way to do it and be civil and a way to do it and be ridiculous. There's some people
kind of like the guy that's a Dallas Cowboys fan, that's a New York Yankees fan, a Notre Dame fan,
and a Los Angeles Dodgers fan too.
Yeah.
He got an NLAO team.
Yeah,
He's got an AFC, NFC team. Yeah,
those people do exist, and they can be annoying. We'll call a spade here on the show. They can absolutely be annoying, but that is the cool thing about sports. I can remember when I was about 10 years old, I was just really getting caught up. Like, I followed college football my entire life, but I was really getting caught up into learning about the history and the different we talked about this a little bit yesterday, the different rivalry games. And I can remember being so excited to watch Oklahoma, Texas, and I had no skin in the game for that. And I can remember being excited to watch Ohio State, Michigan. So I would kind of dive into those and just being a fan of the game. And that's completely fine, in my opinion, being a fan of the game.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to ask you this. Can you watch a football game and not be pulling for another team? I have to pull for a team. And I don't even, sometimes I'll put on a matching game like last night. I just start pulling for one team over another. Why? I don't know. It's just something. I'm like, I'm hoping this team wins.
That is so funny.
I do that every game.
That is so funny that you asked that, because my daughter Murphy, my youngest, she's 8 years old.
She's awesome, by the way.
She is. If I'm watching a game, she walks up, she plops down beside me, and the first thing she says is, "Okay, which team are we pulling for?" And I'm being dead serious. She's got to know who we're rooting for. Now, if the Irish are on TV, I promise you, she's got her Jeremiah Love jersey on. She's probably wearing the Notre Dame helmet and enjoying it with me. But we're watching the World Series, and she asked me that. She said, "Hey, Freddie Freeman's on the blue team." I said, "Yeah, on the Dodgers." Mm-hmm. She said, "So are we pulling for them or are we pulling for the other team?" And I told her, I said, "We're pulling for the other team." And she said, "Okay." And it's funny because she's so bought into whatever I'm pulling for, whatever I'm doing. But that's the first thing she asks. And I'm one of those people that I do appreciate a good matchup. And, like, if I'm watching a one-on-one, like a college wrestling match, like, I have to kind of pick someone I want to win. Yeah, it's just kind of engraved.
I can't watch sports without pulling for somebody, a team, whatnot. You know, it's so funny, Andy. I went to the 1996 Olympics down there in Atlanta, and I got tickets to some Olympic basketball. And I'm trying to remember the countries, like Lithuania versus Romania or something like that. I just started pulling for Lithuania. I remember that. It was Lithuania. I was pulling for that, and I'm trying to remember if that was Romania. But whoever, they were playing another country. Why would I pull? I don't know. I just did. It was one of the most boring moments of my life because there was we're talking about in the Georgia Dome, a 70,000 seat stadium, which, by the way, they had it split in half. On one side it was basketball, on the other side it was gymnastics. I don't know if you knew that. So you had about 35,000 basketball seats that you could sit. If there were 1,000 people in there, we're lucky. It was literally empty.
It's neat, too, because there's times where, like, if there's a feel-good story, I'm like, man, that's why I'm pulling for this team, because this story here that took place or happened. But just got a really good question here via text from our friend Steven. He said, "Who is Jim pulling for when Michigan plays Penn State?
Penn State. I mean,
The hate runs that deep.
It's Penn State. Listen, we've talked about this. We talked about James Franklin. I kind of like that guy as a human being. I think he's a really nice guy, and I really wished he'd have had a little bit more success in bigger games. But no, I've always had some kind of I've always liked Penn State, and I love their uniforms. I love their all-white uniforms more than the blue jerseys. When they wear the white helmets, white jerseys, and the white pants, I think they look so cool. Most people say they look like practice uniforms. I think they're great.
Classic.
I think it's so cool.
It's clean.
But I pull for Penn State when they play Michigan. I mean, pretty much every time.
Well, when you're talking about rivals of your team, like right now, having Notre Dame beat USC, I'm pulling for USC every single game right now.
Well, it makes you look better.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
That's part of college football.
You know what doesn't make you look good? Losing a game to Florida State, having that on your resume.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we're going to get into this. You know, last night the national. I mean, we saw it all over social media. How is Notre Dame ranked ahead? Well, let's go ahead and give the ranking. Let's go ahead and do the rankings. Number 1 is Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. And this is the college football playoff selection committee rankings from last night. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3. Those are the 3 undefeated teams. That makes a lot of sense. Then you got Georgia's moved up to number 4. Texas Tech is 5. Ole Miss is up to number 6. Oregon is at 7. Oklahoma elevates from number 11 to number 8.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
As we get through those first 8, looking at those, I basically – and I think for the most part, I'm not like patting myself on the back here, but I pretty much accurately picked the first 7 teams.
Sure, they're all one or few, or one loss or less. Of course.
What I didn't know was how the committee, the selection committee, was going to handle the Alabama loss to Oklahoma with Notre Dame, and that's something we are going to dive into.
Okay, so Oklahoma is number 8. Number 9 is Notre Dame. Number 10, Alabama. They dropped from 4 to 10. Brigham Young, which, by the way, they've only got 1 loss. They're sitting there behind, Alabama and Notre Dame. Both those teams have 2 losses, as does Oklahoma. So BYU sitting there at 11. Utah is at number 12. Miami, the highest-rated ACC team, they're sitting there at number 13. Vanderbilt's at 14. Southern California 15. Georgia Tech 16. Texas is number 17, Michigan 18, Virginia 19, Tennessee is number 20. Then you got 5 new teams. Illinois is number 21, Missouri is 22, Houston 23, Tulane, the highest-rated Group of 5 team, they're sitting there at number 24. I honestly thought that might be James Madison, but it's Tulane. And then number 25 is Arizona State. So if you look at the bracket, the first 10 are in order. You know, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas, Georgia, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and Alabama. And then the 11 seed would be the number 13 rated Miami Hurricanes, and the number 12 seed would be the 24th ranked Tulane Green Wave, because you got to have the group of 5 has to be represented.
Has to be represented.
So that's where we are as far as the bracket. Those are the 12 teams that would be in it today. Obviously, it doesn't begin today. In 3 weeks, we don't know how many of these teams are going to get beat and upset, and it may be crazy by the time we get to the final selection, but that's where we stand today.
So where a lot of the conversation is coming from is that 8, 9, 10 area, and even Miami at 13. So obviously last week Alabama loses to Oklahoma at Oklahoma, and they drop 6 spots.
Yeah, Alabama lost to Oklahoma in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, it was in Tuscaloosa.
Yes, it was in Tuscaloosa.
Okay, that's my fault. So it was
in
Tuscaloosa.
Lost a home game.
A home game to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And the argument from a lot of people today are saying Alabama's 8-2, Notre Dame's 8-2, and Alabama has beaten Georgia. That's the argument from a lot of Alabama fans specifically. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll say this. Alabama suffered their second loss and dropped 6 spots. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame, when they suffered their second loss, you know how many spots they dropped? Yeah. 13 spots.
Yeah. Of course, that was the AP poll. That was before the CFP was come. You know, we understand that.
But looking over to the AP as well, Alabama only dropped 6 spots after that Oklahoma loss.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the AP and college football rankings, they pretty much mirror each other when it comes. Alabama is number 10 behind Notre Dame, and it's like people were okay. People didn't make a real big deal over the AP poll when it came out on Sunday because they understand that doesn't mean anything.
Not anymore.
It's all about the college football playoff selection committee rankings. And that brings up my thing. Everyone talks about should we have automatic qualifiers or non-automatic qualifiers would be put in there by a selection committee. Well, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, everyone was like, yeah, the selection committee is doing a great job. Oh, they're doing a great job. Last night, everyone's going crazy.
Yeah.
So which is it? Do you want the automatic qualifiers where you get in there based on your conference standings, which, by the way, have no bearing on a non-conference loss? If that was the case, Alabama's got one SEC loss. The other one is a non-conference loss. Same with Texas.
Which, by the way, was to Florida State.
Right. So, Texas, they would only have 2 losses in the eyes of an automatic because the loss to Ohio State wouldn't matter. Michigan they only got 1 conference loss. The loss to Oklahoma wouldn't hurt them as much. So, and my thing is, the way the selection committee is doing this, Andy, why would you even schedule a hard non-conference game? Because you lose it
discourages.
It hurts you.
Yeah, it's discouraging to schedule those games, which I feel like is not good for college football. Ohio State has went out. Texas has went out. A lot of these teams have went out and tried to schedule a big game out of conference for not only the notoriety, but look at Miami. They played Notre Dame this year. Look at Texas A&M. They played Notre Dame. They didn't have to play that game.
USC Notre Dame's a great, terrific rivalry. But let's say USC and Notre Dame didn't play this year. USC's only got 1 loss now.
Yeah.
They're in the top 10 right now.
Yep.
Instead, USC is number 15. So we've got those situations where
time out.
That stuff like that is like I think we need to forgive non-conference losses.
Michigan's sitting at 8-2 right now, ranked number 18.
Yeah.
They're 8-2.
If they had played Oklahoma State instead of Oklahoma, Michigan would be there with 1 loss.
You're right.
They'd be 9-1. If Texas had played Ohio University instead of Ohio State, they'd be sitting there with 2 losses. They'd still be in the discussion. Whereas now they've got 3 losses and they're kind of out of the mix.
So Texas is the highest ranked 3-loss team at number 17.
And they're not getting in. There's just no way.
And then Tennessee is the next at 7-3 at number 20.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of chaos and craziness would it take for Texas or Tennessee to be able to make that jump? Is it possible?
I mean, Ohio State would have to lose to Rutgers and Michigan. Well, even then, Ohio State would still only have 2 losses. So the undefeated teams pretty much are in.
Well, yeah.
But all these 1-loss teams, Georgia would have to lose, and they're not going to lose this weekend. But, I mean, they would have to lose to Georgia Tech, and then they'd have to lose in the SEC championship game.
I don't think that those teams, though, those 1-loss teams, are a factor in this. I think it would have to be
the 2-loss teams.
The Oklahoma, the Notre Dame, the Alabamas,
yes.
and then the Utahs, the Miamis. Those teams would have to collapse.
Let me ask you this. Why is no one upset about BYU and Georgia Tech? They're both sitting there with 1 loss.
Oh, Georgia Tech is upset.
And Georgia Tech's way down there. Georgia Tech's sitting there at number 16. At least BYU's at number 11, so they're semi-close.
The problem with Georgia Tech, their 1 loss was to NC State. That's not a very good loss, and that's one thing that we.
Is it worse than Alabama losing to Florida State?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. They're probably comparable.
But I do feel like the committee is paying a lot more attention to competitive games.
I get you there.
As far as when you get beat by a really bad team, that's a big-time black eye. The committee thinks you should win the games you're supposed to win. And we had Rich Clark on with us, and he said that.
Here's my biggest problem with what's going on in college football right now is that the selection committee, they're holding it against teams that played really good non-conference games. And obviously the winner benefits by them, but the loser is being hurt. The loser's being hurt.
Yeah.
Alabama playing Florida State. It's hurting Alabama right now. They lost the game fair and square. They lost.
31-17, by the way.
They got beat pretty handily. But let's say Alabama didn't play Florida State this year, and they won their first game, and they're only then maybe last Saturday was their first loss of the season. That's my biggest problem is when the non-conference losses hurt you as much as a conference loss, because it shouldn't. Because you should not penalize teams for going out there and scheduling quality games. And frankly, the selection committee, they are hurting teams that played quality non-conference opponents and came up short and lost.
I'll say this: the committee is a "what have you done for me lately" type of committee.
They are.
The fact
that's
that
college football historically has been like that.
The fact that you lose a game recently, it is going to hurt you, and it should hurt you. You have to kind of earn your way back from those. As I said a minute ago, Notre Dame dropped 13 spots after that second loss.
Yeah, they were sitting there 0-2.
And they had to win their way back in. And you've heard Nick Saban, you've heard Paul Feinbaum, you've heard all these people say, Joe Klatt of Fox Sports, you've heard them all say, right now, if there was one team that I did not want to play, it's Notre Dame. They feel like they're arguably one of the best teams in the country.
That's how I feel, and I'm not a Notre Dame fan like you are.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is the one team out there that they're so physical, that big, powerful offensive line. They open up those holes for those running backs, and they're almost impossible to stop when they get that running game going. And right now, that's the one team that I fear more than anyone else. As a guy who pulls for Ohio State, I would rather play anybody else in the country over Notre Dame.
And I told you this before we went on air today. I wish Jacob was here to give the SEC, the Georgia perspective to all of this, and to kind of defend the SEC. I know you're Ohio State Big Ten guy. I'm a Notre Dame independent guy who needs a conference.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is whenever you're peaking at the right time, that's taken into accountability. But this is something that I've repeated on this show. This is an incomplete process. The College Football Playoff Committee and their ranking system, they start from scratch every single week.
That's what they say.
They don't look at the week previous. They start from scratch. But the body of work is not complete until that final ranking. And guess what? Every single year when we get to the final ranking, I think pretty much everybody agrees, and it's usually pretty close, pretty accurate.
Andy, I know we got to hit a break. When we come back, I want you to talk about Notre Dame versus the Miami Hurricanes, and where there's a lot of talk about that as well.
We're going to hit that. We're going to hit on some Tennessee Volunteer stuff. I know our Vol fans are getting tired of hearing about Notre Dame right now, but that's been the hot topic.
It
just is what it is.
It is.
All that when we come back right here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
Right now, someone in a Hardee's kitchen is about to warm up your winter with the new grilled cheese bacon burger. Charbroiled 100% Angus beef, bacon, and Swiss and American cheese melting on our soft, buttery sourdough. And our new grilled cheese breakfast sandwich with sausage or bacon and a fried egg. Cozy up to the goodness of the new grilled cheese bacon burger and breakfast sandwich. For a limited time, only at Hardee's. Cinnamon Raisin Biscuits are back. Unwrap them while you can. Only for a limited time at participating restaurants.
Did you twist an ankle? Hurt your shoulder? Or maybe that weekend project left you with more than sore muscles? Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is here to help. Our Urgent Ortho Walk-In Clinic in Cleveland is open Monday through Saturday, treating sprains, strains, fractures, and more. No appointment needed. There's no need to drive to Chattanooga for expert orthopedic care. Call, schedule online, or walk in today and get back to moving pain-free. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The Center for expert care right when you need it.
ESPN Cleveland 101.3 is powered by Duracell.
Cleveland Tire Center for over 45 years with the best name in tires: Bridgestone, Firestone, Goodyear, and Michelin. Northley Highway, Cleveland. Cleveland Tire Center, where the name says it all.
Do you suffer from unsightly leg veins? Are your legs turning brown or swelling? Do your legs feel heavy, tired, or achy? Do you have restless legs or leg cramps disturbing your sleep? These symptoms are signs of bad veins. Dr. James Gooden at Milligan Vein offers an office treatment that can make you look and feel better, and your procedure is covered by most insurance. Find more information online at milliganvein.com or call Dr. Gooden today at 423-961-5682 and get rid of those bad veins.
The Vascular Institute of Chattanooga celebrates 10 years of saving limbs and restoring lives. From state-of-the-art technology to compassionate patient care, VIC has become the region's trusted leader in vascular health and the only accredited vein and deep venous center in the area. Thank you to our patients, partners, and community for a decade of trust and support. The Vascular Institute of Chattanooga, 10 years strong and just getting started. Learn more at vascularinstituteofchattanooga.com. vascularinstituteofchattanooga.com. That's vascularinstituteofchattanooga.com.
Hey Cleveland, are you suffering from fatigue, low sex drive, or just not feeling like yourself? Optimize You is the answer that you have been looking for. Our team is here to listen and help you become the best version of yourself again. So find us online at OptimizeYouCenters.com. That's OptimizeYouCenters.com.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
Duracell in Cleveland is now hiring mechanical skilled technicians, $22 to $27 per hour. Excellent benefits beginning day one. Medical, dental, vision insurance, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k, tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply now at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. And getting back to the college football selection committee rankings, and we haven't really got into a little bit the Notre Dame versus Alabama. Now it's Notre Dame versus Miami. Obviously, we do know what happened first game of the year. Game could have gone either way.
Yeah, Miami won that game at home against Notre Dame 27-24.
Could have gone either way. But Miami did win the game fair and square. And we're sitting here today. Miami is ranked number 13 and Notre Dame's number 9. Now, the selection committee guy who was on last night with Reese Davis, he says that there's too much separation between Miami and Notre Dame to compare them head-to-head just yet.
The term that was used is they're not in the same tier.
In the same tier, right. So that was an interesting little segment there. But my thing to you, and I'm gonna look at it from the Miami perspective. We beat Notre Dame head-to-head. We should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame. How do you counter that?
That's where exactly how was addressed when asked specifically about those tiers. This is the problem. That was a head-to-head game, but we've talked about this in the show already. It's a what have you done for me lately? Mm-hmm. And lately, Miami lost to SMU. SMU is not a terrible team, but just this season,
that's a worse loss than Notre Dame.
Exactly. That's worse than any loss that Notre Dame has. Even though you've got, I understand everyone's like head to head. That's all that matters. Well, that's not true. What if Miami was undefeated and lost their last 2 games of the season, but they still have the head to head to Notre Dame? No, you account for those losses. You have to account for losses. So Miami's lost to SMU 26-20, and then they lost to Louisville 24-21. Those are 2 unranked teams currently.
Yeah.
They're unranked.
They are unranked, but they've just got 3 losses, and they could be ranked just as easily as Tennessee and Missouri are. Like that's helping Alabama's cause because they are ranked. SMU and Louisville, you could make a case that they could be ranked just as easy as Missouri and Tennessee. And if they were ranked, then that would look a lot better for the University of Miami.
Well, and that's where, I know we've got a lot of SEC listeners, but in all fairness, no one's denying the best teams in the SEC. No one's denying those top 5 or 6. Like, there's no argument there. They're solid. Like, I get that. The problem is, like you just said, Louisville's a 3-loss team, and they lost to a ranked Virginia team. They lost to Cal, which I get it's probably not a great loss, and they lost to Clemson, which again,
this year's Clemson, that's not a good loss.
It's not, but Clemson still has a roster. They're still very talented as far as that goes. This is the problem. If you talk to any fan that is not a fan of an SEC team, look at how many SEC teams are ranked right now. And you just mentioned it. There's
8.
There's 3 lost teams in the ACC, in the Big 12, and the Big 10 that are not ranked. But a lot of your 3 lost teams in the SEC are ranked.
Well, all 3 of them.
So we're talking about favoritism here. Yep. Notre Dame's not getting the favoritism. The conference of the SEC is getting the favoritism.
So let me tell you, I don't know if you, I know you love college football history, but I'm going to throw one out at you. In 1978, Southern California came to Birmingham, Alabama, and they beat Alabama at Legion Field, beat them, I think, by 10 points. At the end of the season, both Alabama and USC had 1 loss. Alabama won the national championship. Head-to-head, they lost to USC. USC was number 2, Alabama was number 1. But the thinking back then was USC lost. I think it was Stanford. They lost to an average Stanford team. So the writers who voted and everything, they said Alabama's loss was to a really good USC team. USC's loss was to a very average team.
And this is similar.
And this is exactly the same thing. It's literally the same thing from 30 some odd or 40 years ago.
And that's where I do think head-to-head matters. And I'm trying to take my heart out of this conversation. If Miami wins out the rest of the season, I don't think they can make the ACC championship game. It would need they'd have to get some help.
There'd have to be some crazy things going between now and in the next 2 weeks. Yeah,
but they've got Virginia Tech and Pitt, which that's a common opponent with Notre Dame, Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So if Notre
Dame throttled Pitt,
yes, last week they did. And so if Miami wins out, beating Virginia Tech and beating Pitt, then in that again, this is an incomplete process. Once we get to that point, if Miami jumps to 9 and Notre Dame drops to 10, as a Notre Dame fan, I don't have a problem with that because they beat us head-to-head. But again, if Miami struggles and looks really bad and they squeak out a win against Pitt, a team that Notre Dame dominated, I don't think they should jump Notre Dame.
Let me ask you, do you have any fear that Alabama leaps over Notre Dame, and then Miami also leaps over Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame's on the outside looking in?
Yeah,
that would be my fear if I'm a Notre Dame fan. That, oh my gosh, we're getting jumped, and we keep winning. You finish the season winning 10 straight games, and then all of a sudden you're getting jumped by an Alabama, or getting jumped by a Miami. Then things would look really crazy. So if I'm you, I'm rooting hard for Missouri this weekend to beat Oklahoma.
Well, there's potential for that scenario to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at Alabama's schedule, you know who they're playing this week? They're playing
Eastern Illinois.
Eastern Illinois. You should get a dock for playing that game.
I don't like FCS teams playing SEC teams.
But especially right here
in November.
I get that. So no, they're in the next ranking. When Alabama throttles Eastern Illinois and Notre Dame beats Syracuse, no, Alabama should not jump Notre Dame.
But what if Alabama goes to Auburn the following week and just annihilates the Auburn Tigers at Jordan-Hare Stadium at night? That's going to reflect great on Alabama. But even though Auburn's down this year, it's still a rival.
Well, you're going to need Notre Dame to go to Stanford, at Stanford, and do the very same thing.
Yep.
And if that happens, I think nothing changes.
Yeah, to me, if I'm in your shoes, and I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but if I'm in your shoes, I'm sitting there going, come on, Missouri, beat Oklahoma. Because if Oklahoma gets beat, then you don't have it. Then it doesn't matter if Miami and Alabama jump you guys. You'll still make the playoffs.
But there's still a potential here for a couple of these teams.
Oregon's playing USC this weekend, by the way.
You know what? If Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl, that makes them a 2-loss team and puts them in this conversation as well.
Yeah. Now, if I'm you, if USC goes to Eugene, Oregon, and beats the Ducks, USC's not jumping over Notre Dame because you beat them, but Notre Dame would they would leap over Oregon, and that would be beneficial to you.
It would.
If you win out and if USC wins out, Notre Dame's in.
Yeah, there's so many complex ways to look at this.
There's so many complex
and I do. Like I'm saying this in this scenario, I do think head-to-head matters, going back to the whole Miami conversation. But Miami's got to prove that they're an elite team. Notre Dame, when they lost those 2 games, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Notre Dame fan, it was week 1 and week 3, the first 2 games of the season that they played. Their quarterback had never taken a snap in college in his life. This is a team that's playing really good football. Anyone that knows ball knows they're playing really good football, and they're dangerous. I want to throw out a stat to you. Alabama is a team. Their offense, very unbalanced, very pass-heavy. They've only rushed for just over 1,000 yards on the season.
The entire team.
The entire team. Notre Dame has an individual in Jeremiah Love, who's a Heisman candidate, that's already over that and past that mark, well past it, and another running back who is not far behind.
Yeah, Alabama, their rushing attack's been extremely average to below average this year. So that is one thing that I'm concerned about if I'm an Alabama fan. And I'll go ahead and say this. And you know, like I said, when Miami beat Notre Dame, I watched that entire game, and I was sitting there going, how in the world did that happen? Because Notre Dame looked like the better team the entire night, but somehow Miami won. I felt the same way when Alabama lost to Oklahoma. As soon as that game's over, I'm like, Alabama's better than Oklahoma. How'd that happen? But it happens. It happens all the time in college football. The better team doesn't win every game. I mean, for crying out loud, we saw Texas A&M had to go like crazy to beat South Carolina. That shouldn't happen, but that's what's great about college football. You just never know.
Indiana almost lost to Penn State.
Yeah.
Indiana was so close to losing that game to Penn State.
But don't you think that the close win that Texas A&M had over South Carolina is even a greater because I feel like Penn State's roster is pretty darn good. I don't think that South Carolina's roster is that good at all. And they beat that dog out of Texas A&M in that first half. Second half was completely roles were reversed, and A&M just annihilated them.
I think that's why they're 3. I think that's why they're not above Indiana.
Oh, I think so too.
So just kind of looking at some of these other teams throughout the rankings, I want to talk about teams that are in the mix that don't have good wins, that have really tough, tight where their L's, like for instance, Tennessee. Tennessee's 3 losses are to really good football teams, in my opinion. They lost to Georgia 44-41, obviously a close game. They lost to Alabama 37-20, and they lost to Oklahoma 33-27. The problem is, until Vanderbilt, Tennessee does not have a good win.
No, they don't. I would say the Mississippi State win is probably their best win of the season.
And something else that kind of hurts.
Maybe Kentucky, Mississippi State, you can flip a coin. Which is the better win?
Kentucky's not a good win, in my opinion. Mississippi State, especially being at Mississippi State, they're a team that's competed with everybody they've played against. I think that's the most credible win. But then you squeak by an Arkansas team at home in Neyland Stadium, 34-31. So, that's one thing that's lacking for Tennessee is a credible win.
Yeah, and now they're going down to Gainesville, Florida. By the way, who was it that won the contest? Do you have that in front
I'm
of
so
you?
glad you brought that up. Our Vols 25 giveaway presented by United Structural Systems winner is Jane Young.
Jane Young going down to Gainesville to watch Tennessee, Florida. Listen.
That's still a fun rivalry even when Florida's down.
And I love the Tennessee-Florida rivalry. But I'm going to tell you right now, this would make Florida's season to beat Tennessee because they've had a really bad year. Listen, they're looking for a coach. We don't know who's going to be the guy there. Lane Kiffin's name's still being rumored around there. But, boy, if Florida could pull that upset off and beat the Vols, that would semi-help them. And, of course, then they follow it up with Florida State the following weekend. But Florida's going to do everything in their power, and they're going to try to play the game of the season to upset the Vols. You know that.
Yeah, I think that's a game going into that atmosphere, it being what it is, that rivalry being what it is, which it's not going to be an annual game anymore, which is disappointing to me. But I think if Tennessee goes down there and gets a win, that should be a win that is considered a quality win. It's not a huge win. It's not a great win
because Florida's sitting there with 3-7, are they?
Yeah, they're 3-7.
Even though Mississippi State has a better record in Kentucky, although Kentucky beat the out of Florida a couple weeks ago, I still think Florida's roster is better than Mississippi State's or Kentucky's.
Florida's really confusing because
they are, man. They beat Texas.
They should have beat South Florida week 2. They lost that game 18-16. Then they play LSU in a tight game and lose that game. They play Miami, get blown out. They play Texas A&M, get blown out. Georgia 24-20 is your score in that game.
Yep, that was a good one.
And you play Ole Miss 34-24, but then
let's be honest, Ole Miss scored a touchdown with like a minute to go in the game to make that score a 10-point instead of a 3-point win. It became a 10-point win.
But then here Florida is with a win over Texas.
They dominated that game.
It is so inconsistent, and I want to apologize to all of our listeners. Clearly, I'm dealing with some sinus issues here. I'm so stopped up right now. But I'm looking at this Florida team, and this is a capable Florida team. So that's why I think on the road, this is a potentially a good win for Tennessee going into the final week of the season, where you're hosting a ranked Vanderbilt team with a Heisman candidate. If there's a 3-loss team that I feel like can get back into the mix with some help, I do think it could be Tennessee getting that win over Florida and Vanderbilt.
I'm not saying
it's going to happen.
I'm not, but I'm saying if Tennessee wins both games, I still think they're on the outside looking at. I don't see a 3-loss team getting. I think the only
it's going to be next to impossible.
I think the only team that had any chance would have been Texas, and the fact that they got beat by 25 points against Georgia, 35-10, I think that keeps them out as well.
But again, that goes back to what I just said. What have you done for me lately? And
that's true.
Texas has just lost to Georgia. That's fresh. Like that wound's still bleeding right now.
And Tennessee played Georgia better than Texas did.
And when you look at Tennessee, their most recent loss was to Oklahoma a few weeks ago, and it was in a tight game. And Oklahoma's getting a lot of love right now.
Yeah, I honestly thought Tennessee was going to win that game. I really thought the Vols were going to beat Oklahoma when they came to Neyland, but they didn't.
So that's where...
And that's, listen, hats off to Oklahoma. They went back-to-back games. Of course, there was an off day or off week in between, but they went to Knoxville, beat Tennessee. They went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. So
it's tough to do.
That's very tough to do. And so you got to give, some credit to Oklahoma for doing what they did.
Yeah, and if Tennessee can go 3-0 in their last 3 games of the season with a win over Vanderbilt that would be a ranked win, I think that accounts for something. So if anything, Tennessee with some help could be right there on the outside looking in, or potentially if we have absolute chaos.
Yeah, there's an outside chance that you're right. There is some of these 2-loss teams. Let's say Notre Dame loses. Let's say Oklahoma loses.
That's all it takes.
Yeah,
that's
then
all it takes.
Alabama loses to Auburn. Now all of a sudden, Tennessee's in the mix with all those other 3-loss teams. So we would see where the cookie crumbles at that point. What if Texas beats Texas A&M? All of a sudden, that's a great win for Texas. Now they're back in the mix as well. So heck, there's a lot of things that go on these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about. It's fun to look at, and everyone gets all upset. But this is an incomplete process.
Well, listen. Were you on social media much today?
Not really.
Oh.
Not like I needed to.
I got like at lunchtime, I'm sitting there eating, and it's unreal the stuff being said about Notre Dame. And I was like, guys, first off, Notre Dame doesn't vote for themselves. A committee votes for them. They're the recipient of these votes. They're not the ones putting a gun in these people's heads and making them vote. It's kind of like when Charles Woodson beat Peyton Manning. A lot of people hated Charles Woodson. I'm like, Charles Woodson didn't vote. He was just the recipient. So if you get upset with anybody, get upset with the selection committee. And there's my biggest problem. First off, Andy, I do not believe there should be athletic directors on the selection committee at all. It should be other people. I think Nick Saban should be on this. I think like Urban Meyer, retired coaches, and maybe some influential writers have been around the block a few times, but sitting athletic directors should absolutely not be on the selection committee. Sorry.
They've got skin in the game.
That's right. Yeah. They've got a lot of skin in the game. It's beneficial if you're an athletic director from the Big Ten. It's financially does you much better if you get more Big Ten teams in there because they share the wealth amongst the conference members. Same with the SEC, same with the Big 12, same with the ACC. Sitting athletic director should absolutely not be on the selection committee, period, in the story. But I think some retired coaches, some former players, and maybe a few writers here or there, I'm okay with that, but don't have athletic directors.
Well, I liked it when Archie Manning was a part of it. He was on the committee on the inaugural season of the college football playoff.
Don't you think a Nick Saban or an Urban Meyer would have a lot of – they've been there. First off, the good thing about those two guys, they coached in both the Big Ten and the SEC. Saban was at Michigan State, LSU, and Alabama. Urban Meyer was at Florida and Ohio State. So they would have a perspective on both those leagues. And having some former players, I think it would be good to have some like a Tim Tebow. I think he would be someone that I would trust on there. Guys like that, I think those are the type of people I would like to see on the selection committee. But I absolutely am totally against having current athletic directors on the selection committee. I just think there's something just doesn't seem right to me.
Well, you mentioned Tim Tebow. A guy that I really like and respect his opinion is Greg McElroy. He does a great job on ESPN
Jesse
college
Palmer,
football.
another former Gator quarterback. Yeah.
But so I wouldn't have a problem with that. And Greg McElroy is one of these guys saying basically the same thing that I've said on the show today, as far as you've got to let the process play out. You have to for it to
and
be
we
accurate.
got 3 weeks. We got a lot of stuff to get a change. You know, people are getting all
It figures itself out.
It usually, although last year, if you remember, Miami, Ole Miss, and Alabama, they were all up in arms that they get in the playoffs last year.
And can we talk about this too? They also manipulate. We saw this a lot when it was still just a 4-team playoff, but the committee manipulates where they rank teams for the matchups in the first round. They don't want Georgia and Alabama playing in a semifinal. We saw that get split, and they'd meet in the national title game.
How do you
going
feel
back
about
to 4.
that? How do you feel about that?
I mean,
I don't want to see.
I think it kind of undermines what the idea of seeding is.
The one thing that I want them to avoid is having the same matchup back to back. Like, I wouldn't want to see Ohio State, Michigan playing back to back, or I wouldn't want to see Alabama, Auburn playing back to back.
Yeah.
That would be something I'd like to see them avoid. That.
Well, look, this
but
scenario,
but a rematch from a regular season, I'm okay with that.
But this scenario right here, they literally just played. If you do put Alabama over Notre Dame, guess who they're matched up with? Oklahoma.
Yeah, see,
they do that stuff to avoid that.
Yeah, in a way, I get it. In a way, I'm for it, and in a way, I'm like, no, you need to just do it. It needs to be if it's the way it naturally happens, then so be it. That would be, gosh, think about this. Here's the matchups, by the way, if it started today, which, by the way, it doesn't. You'd have Tulane at Texas Tech. That would be ugly. Texas Tech would annihilate those guys. By the way, Texas Tech's a really good football team. That's true. Notre Dame would be at Oklahoma. Sign me up for that.
That'd be fun.
That'd be great. You'd have Ole Miss at the Miami Hurricanes, and you'd have Alabama at Oregon. That would be awesome to see the Crimson Tide go up to Eugene and play the Ducks.
Would be neat.
And that would be good. So those would be the first round games played on campus. By the way, I love the on-campus experience of these playoff games. I just think it makes such sense.
The playoff needs to expand to where there's one more round so you can have 2 rounds of home playoff games.
Well, if they went to 16, then like the 4 teams getting the byes right now, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Georgia would be playing at home against teams. Like this number 16 team would play at Ohio State.
You need more of those games.
Yeah, 15 would be at 2. So yeah, I'm for going to 16, and then having everyone play a home first round game.
So that right now, Ohio State would be hosting Georgia Tech. How cool would that be?
What?
If you expanded the playoff.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
That'd be cool.
That'd be great. Listen, Haynes Kings, he's scary. He's the real deal, by the way. And by the way, Georgia's going to have their hands full when they play Georgia Tech at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, and that is another example of all the craziness that could still happen. There's a lot of situations like that out there. Hey, real quick, want to go over some scores from around the area. Last night, we'll start off with middle school here. Cleveland Middle School wrestling over Ocoee. The varsity over there at Cleveland Middle won 59-21, and the girls for Cleveland Middle beat Ocoee 41-36 in a match that sounded like it was really tight. A little bit of a nail-biter there between those two teams. And then in high school basketball last night, the Barretts beat GPS 73-49. The Barretts doing what they do. Coach Jason Reuter and company just putting it on teams. Again, the final score there, 73-49. And then Coach Bianca Hensley's girls at Cleveland beat Shelbyville last night, 69-26. That used to be a very quality girls program at Shelbyville. Cleveland just made them look really bad with that 69-26 win.
That's unreal. You're right. Shelbyville used to be a power, and they scored 26 points in the entire game.
They did.
Yeah, I don't know who the head coach is there right now, but I bet you 3 people are not happy right now.
Yeah, and then Cleveland's boys lost 78-52, and then going up to Walker Valley, the Mustangs faced Boyd Buchanan in their Hall of Fame game. The Walker Valley girls got a huge first win of the season, 77-50. Angela Campbell, that was her first win as head coach of the Lady Mustangs.
I like her, by the way. She's really cool.
She is, and that, just kind of being transparent, that's not something that a lot of people around the area basketball-wise expected, just because of the struggles that the Walker Valley girls program had last year. Just scraping, trying to get in the win column. Starting off 1-0 is not bad.
Listen, she came off the mat to become that head coach. She was not looking to be a head coach. It just basically, she was the only warm body available. She took the job, and congratulations to her. But we had her on as a guest when she took that job, and she told us her story, and it was really cool. So I'm happy for her.
Yeah, and then Walker Valley's boys won 74-66 over a tough Boyd Buchanan team. So some good basketball being kicked off and played here in the area. And throughout this season, we're going to try to get in touch with our local basketball coaches, our local wrestling coaches, have them on the show just to kind of give us some updates. It won't be quite as consistent as we did with high school football, but we are going to have them tuning in with us throughout the season, especially before those big games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll have a good time with it. But real quick, we're going to take a break. When we come back, got a couple more things to talk about here. We've got the Hall of Fame ballots released in Major League Baseball. They also, I don't know if you heard this, Jim, they've announced the Field of Dreams game, Part 2.
I saw that. I'm so glad. I thought it was Part 3.
It's Part 2. It's the second version of the Field of Dreams game.
I thought they've played 2 already.
Just Yankees-Cubs, or Yankees-White Sox.
Could have swore the Reds played in that game.
We're going to figure it out.
All right.
We'll be right back here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
All right, Mr. Gobbles, it's that time of year again. Got any last requests? What? You want a smoking hot deal on a new Kia? Mucho dinero for your trade and your credit pardon? Well, you're going to have to come to Kia Cleveland today. This is John Davis, the trade-in man at Kia Cleveland on South Lee Highway, with great news for turkeys. Kia Cleveland will pay you up to $7,000 over Kelly Blue Book market value for your old turkey that you're driving. That's right, up to $7,000 for any trade in any condition, and we'll buy your car for cash, even if you don't buy a car from us. Got foul credit? Don't sweat it. Our lenders will say yes to you and yes to your situation. So quit your old car, cold turkey, and get up to $7,000 for any trade in any condition. Come see me, John Davis, at Kia Cleveland on South Lee Highway in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee, where trading your car is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Negative trade equity finance with a new loan subject to lender approval. Expires month end. KiaofCleveland.com.
Right now, someone in a Hardee's kitchen is about to warm up your winter with the new grilled cheese bacon burger. Charbroiled 100% Angus beef, bacon, and Swiss and American cheese melting on our soft, buttery sourdough. And our new grilled cheese breakfast sandwich with sausage or bacon and a fried egg. Cozy up to the goodness of the new grilled cheese bacon burger and breakfast sandwich. For a limited time, only at Hardee's. Cinnamon Raisin Biscuits are back. Unwrap them while you can. Only for a limited time at participating restaurants.
Did you twist an ankle? Hurt your shoulder? Or maybe that weekend project left you with more than sore muscles? Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is here to help. Our urgent ortho walk-in clinic in Cleveland is open Monday through Saturday, treating sprains, strains, fractures, and more. No appointment needed. There's no need to drive to Chattanooga for expert orthopedic care. Call, schedule online, or walk in today and get back to moving pain-free. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The Center for expert care right when you need it.
Cleveland, the all-new Select Flooring and Remodeling is now open at 5555 North Lee Highway. We carry the top flooring brands you know and trust: Mohawk, Shaw, Engineer Floors, and United Weavers. We also specialize in home remodeling and roofing, delivering quality you can count on. Take advantage of 24 months interest-free credit. Come see us Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 2. Call us today at 423-889-3007. That's Select Flooring and Remodeling, 5555 North Lee Highway, Cleveland. From the floors to the roof, we've got you covered.
When you need a new roof, it's all about trust. Your home is too big an investment and you can't afford to make a mistake. Cleveland Plywood has the products and expertise you're looking for. Contractors have trusted them for over 50 years, and they carry only proven products from reputable suppliers like IKO. IKO Cambridge is one of the heaviest weight asphalt shingles you can buy, and their limited warranties are among the industry's best. Protect the investment you've made in your home. Go with the pros at Cleveland Plywood, 2700 20th Street Northeast in Cleveland. Call 472-3357.
This Thanksgiving season, all of us at Honda Cleveland just want to say thank you. for your trust, your loyalty, and for letting us be part of your journey. We're proud to be a 3-time Honda President's Award winner and a Carfax top-rated lifetime dealer. And it's all because of you. Right now, we're celebrating with special Happy Honda Day savings. Get more for your trade-in. Finance your new Honda from just 2.99% APR and make no payments for 90 days. That's right, no payments for 90 days, so you can keep your cash for the holidays. And don't miss our true certified pre-owned Hondas, too. They're backed by a 3-day return policy, 24/7 roadside assistance, and a powerful warranty. Honda Cleveland, your car, your way, every day. Just off I-75, exit 20, 1 mile east. From all of us at Honda Cleveland, happy Thanksgiving, and we hope to see you soon.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
When it comes to Mayfield Dairy Ice Cream, you'll never have a boring bite. Pick some up today at your local grocery store and learn more at MayfieldDairy.com. So I got to say this. I got to jump in, Jim, before I let you roll with our Inside the SEC, which is one of my favorite segments here that Jim does because always dropping some knowledgeable nuggets on all of us here. But going to the break, Jim was correct. This will be the third edition of the Field of Dreams game. The first, of course, was in 2021 between the White Sox and the Yankees. The second, between Jim's very own Cincinnati Reds and the Chicago Cubs. And what was released today, this is what confused me. It said if you build it again, and then someone said part 2 because they clearly didn't know what they were talking about. But Major League Baseball's announced that they're going to bring a third, Jim Gum was correct, a third game there to Iowa at the Field of Dreams location between the Phillies and the Twins. I think that's a really neat game. I love those unique games that Major League Baseball started to do. Got to be up there at the Speedway Classic this past year between your Reds and my Braves.
Yeah, that game was interesting because it got pushed back to Sunday, and
weather does not cooperate sometimes.
Yep. But still, how many people were? 90,000?
Oh, it was insane, yeah.
It was a huge crowd.
I remember it was close to 100,000 in that range, 90 to 100. But the thing that stands out to me the most about that, Jim, was the trophy that you got for winning that.
That's right.
It was about 3 times bigger than the World Series trophy. So the Braves didn't make the playoffs, but they got a really big trophy.
They had to get a crane to bring that thing back.
That's crazy.
So, all right, let's do Inside the SEC, sponsored by Southern Heritage Bank. Did some research since 1995. By the way, the SEC has a winning record against every conference, all time I'm talking about. Well, since 95, I should say. They've won 59% of their games against the Big Ten, 58% of their games against the Big 12, and 59% of their games against the Pac-12. But they've won well over 90% of their games against a few other leagues, including the Sun Belt and the Mid-American. But their highest winning percentage against any group of people, group of teams.
Can I guess?
Yes.
The Southern Conference.
Well, they're part of it. FCS opponents. Since 1995, the Southeastern Conference, they've played 268 games so far. This does not count what's getting ready to be played.
How many?
They've played 268 games against FCS opponents since 1995.
That's 268 games too many.
They're 263-5. They've won 98% of their games against FCS opponents. And yes, we do have a few of those coming up this weekend. So the SEC has done they've done a great job of winning more than they lose against some of these power leagues. But the FCS teams, and I'm sorry, I don't believe teams from the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12, I think those 4 leagues should not be allowed to play FCS teams. I don't have a problem with UTC playing someone from the Sun Belt or the Mid-American Conference or Conference USA.
It could be a competitive game.
Could be a competitive game. But I don't think the Power 4 leagues should be playing FCS opponents. I just don't.
I'll say this. I don't have a problem with maybe one a year at maybe week 1 or week 2. Tennessee plays, UTC, ETSU, or Tennessee Tech. Play one of those games. Help support them financially. I get they rely on that money, but
not November.
At this point in the season, we're about to have a matchup of the Georgia Bulldogs and the Charlotte 49ers and the Alabama Crimson Tide and Eastern Illinois. I don't even know or care what they're called.
Yeah.
So
I get you. I get you.
Like that to me, like what an off-putting week of college football when you have those teams playing. You should be excited to watch Alabama. You should be excited to watch Georgia, and they're playing bottom feeders. That's embarrassing.
I'm not a fan of.
That's
playing,
embarrassing.
I'm not a fan of playing those games in November. To me, November it should be reserved for league games. Period. End of story. That's just me being who I am. But anyway, so that is Inside the SEC, sponsored by Southern Heritage Bank.
Yeah, we get a little carried away on some of these things. We get fired up when we talk about it. Hey, Major League Baseball coverage here on The Drive brought to you by Mayfield Dairy. Some big news: the Ayers Committee class of 2026 has been announced and includes 8 players: Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Carlos Delgado, Jeff Kent, Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly.
How is he not already in it?
I know. Del Murphy, who I feel the same way about.
How is he not already in it?
Gary Sheffield and Fernando Mania Valenzuela. So those are your 8 members of the Ayers Committee, and the difference between the first year eligible and regular Hall of Fame ballot voted on by the writers. The Ayers Committee is a 16-member committee that votes on the ballot. This is going to take place in December, and a candidate needs 75% of the votes to be inducted. The results are going to be announced on December 7th. And Barry Bonds obviously got passed on because of the steroid allegation. Same with Roger Clemens. There's a lot of guys sitting here, though, that when it comes to their peers, the one thing that's unique about this, a lot of those peers are at a point where they don't want them in because they were steroiders, or it's really like a 50-50 divide. So I don't anticipate Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens getting in because you need that 75%. I do think Don Mattingly and Del Murphy are going to get in.
And I think will Pete Rose be on that next year in like for 2027, I guess, Hall of Fame?
Yeah, so
he'll be on ballot next year in 2026.
So I believe that he will be eligible for Ayers Committee. That's
what I mean. Ayers Committee. That's what I
I believe so on the next edition.
Yeah,
and of course the 2026 first-year player eligible were announced as well. A lot of names on there. Andrew Jones is a guy who's returning. I fully expect Andrew Jones to get in as well.
Wouldn't it be kind of cool to have him and Murphy going in the same year?
That'd be neat.
Dale Murphy
That'd
going
be great.
in. That would be a cool.
I might make a trip to Cooperstown. Hey, we're up against the break here. Appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to me and all of my congestion complain about what's going on with college football rankings. For Jim Gum, I'm Andy Morris. Have a great day, everybody.